Welcome to Digital Billy. My name is Billy, though this is not my real voice, and I've been using Photoshop for a very long time, and I hope that you too can learn and appreciate all that it has to offer. And I am pleased that I can show you all around Photoshop Elements 2022, which is packed full of features. As helpful as these features are, many of them are most useful when fine-tuned in expert mode, which I explain at the end of each segment. But don't be intimidated by expert mode, it really is very helpful as well. In this tutorial, we look at the Photoshop Elements 2022 guided mode, and I go over all 19 features of the Fun Edit section. These are the 19 features of the Fun Edit section, within the guided mode. To jump directly to a section, see the timestamps in the description below. Please hit like and subscribe, that helps a lot. Let's get started. The first feature is double exposure. Bring one photo to life within another, to create a surreal effect. First, use the crop tool to adjust your photo so the primary subject is in the center. Second, use one of the selection tools to choose the primary subject of your photo. Third, choose a photo to superimpose on your primary subject. Then you can move the background image around or adjust its opacity. Then you can click on the Effects button and try out these color effects presets. Click on Next and then click on Expert Mode, and then you'll see all of these layers were generated to create this effect, and you can edit any of these layers to fine-tune the image. Also note the areas here and here. The selection tools offered in this module are limited, and you are not able to subtract or add these areas, unfortunately. The next module is the Duotone Effect. Apply a custom duotone effect to your photo for a beautiful two-color creation. First, choose image type, and here are a lot of different social media formats to choose from. Imagine if these choices were available on every module. Second, choose a duotone effect preset, normal or gradient, and then a color. Then you can customize which of the two colors are more intense, and the overall opacity. Then you can select a shape overlay, and here would be nice to have more choices. In expert mode, you'll see that there are 3 layers, the original, a grayscale version, and then a gradient map on top with the 2 colors. And the gradient map is enclosed in a vector mask in the shape of a circle. The third feature within the Fun Edits section is Effects Collage. Create a fun collage by adding multiple effects to a single photo. First, select a collage layout, 2 sections, 3 sections, or 4 sections. I picked 3 sections, and you have these configurations here to choose from. I picked the 3 vertical bars. Then you choose a style from the choices here. That looks pretty good. Then you can adjust the opacity. This is a pretty simple, basic feature. View the results in expert mode, and you can see that each of the 3 image panels has its own 2 manipulated layers, which you can then adjust further. You can get insight into expert mode, or regular Photoshop Elements for that matter, by clicking on the FX label here, and a Style Settings window pops up. Here you can see that stroke is set at 20 pixels, and is white, which means the edges of this layer, which is this rectangle in the image, has a white 20 pixel stroke around its inside edges, which makes the white border. This is pretty straightforward within Photoshop Elements, and if you understand this part, you too can be an expert. The fourth feature is Meme Maker. Turn photos and text into fun memes for social media. 1. Click the Create Meme Template button to get started. And here is the default template. Next, click the Type Tool button to modify your top and bottom text. Then you type in your top text message. And you see the text tool options at the bottom. Third, you can resize your photo to highlight your subject. You can also flip your image horizontally or vertically. Then, you can choose a new border. Here again with these presets, it would be nice to have more choices. The fifth step are these 5 effects or revert back, and again, it would be nice to have more choices. Then in expert mode, you see 5 total layers. The 2 text layers, the image layer, its mask layer, and the background. So here you can make further changes to your liking. And that is the Meme Maker feature. The fifth feature within Fun Edits is multi-photo text. Create visual text with a different photo inside each letter. First, click the Type tool button below, and then click your photo and type some text. Use the tool options along the bottom to adjust the text style. Second, optional, choose how you'd like the text to appear on your photo. Third, click the Create Frames button below to make frames. Then fourth, add a photo to a frame by clicking the frame or the two buttons below. Then you add one photo to each letter. And then you can adjust the size and position of each photo within the larger letter. Then fifth, optional, choose a new background. And sixth, optional, choose the intensity of your text's bevel, drop shadow, and stroke. Then in expert mode, you'll see a whole bunch of layers. And it's 3 layers per letter. So you think you can fully edit this complex image. But when you examine the style settings of each layer, by going to Layer, Layer Style, Style Settings, you see that no items here have been used. The bevel nor the drop shadow have been used. So then you cannot edit those elements here in this image, unfortunately. You can only edit each separate image within the letters or the positioning and sizing of the letters. And that is the multi-photo text feature. The next feature is old-fashioned photo. Take your photo back in time by giving it an old-fashioned look. 1. Click on any of the 3 black and white presets provided below. Labeled newspaper. Urban. And vivid, which has the most white in it. 2. Tonality is the range of black and white tones produced by the shadows and light in an image. Adjusting tonality gives your photo a more dynamic look. 3. Add texture to enhance the old photograph effect. Click Add Texture to add, repeat to intensify. And you might not see it, but pixels are being added all over with each click. 4. Colorize the image using the hue, saturation, and lightness. Click on the button to access the sliders. And what pops up is the standard Photoshop hue, saturation, and lightness window sliders. So as you see here, you can make it any color, not just sepia, and any saturation, and any lightness, and this is regular Photoshop adjustments, which you can handle just fine. Then in expert mode, the changes are only on one layer. Next is out of bounds. Make the subject of your photo pop out of the edges with this 3D effect. First, start by adding a frame, click on Add Frame. Read the tips below for ideas. You can read the list, it's basic movement information. Two, use the selection tool to select the part of the image that you want to extend out of your frame. I'm going over the top figure here. These selection tools are different with each feature. It would be nice if the selection tools with the most options were maintained as a standard across all features that use them. I'm going over the lower figure now. Three, once your selection is finalized, click on the Out of Bounds effect. 4. Add a gradient background to enhance the effect. And you can customize the gradient here. 5. Add shadow. Small, medium, or large. Now in expert mode, you see there's 8 layers, with each element of this complex image on a separate layer, so you can fine-tune the results. Click on the FX on this layer here, and the style settings pops up, where you can see the drop shadow settings, and you can change these settings. And this is the out of bounds feature. Next is Painterly. Give your photo an artistic painting effect. 1. Click on the Paint Brush button below and then click multiple times on the main subject of your photo to reveal your painting. You have a choice of these 4 brush marks. Then you can adjust the size and opacity to your liking. Cover up as much as you would like, or click the Hide button to hide areas of the image. Then 2. Select a canvas color, black or white, or select a custom color. This gray looks pretty good for this image. Then 3. Optional, select a texture for the canvas, from these 6 options. The issue with these textures is you can easily see the repeating patterns, particularly here. And you can adjust the texture opacity. And 4. Optional, select an effect for your painting. And I do not understand these effects, they don't result in anything really. Click Next, and click Continue Editing in Expert Mode. And here you will see 5 total layers. You have 2 gray layers on top of the original image. Then you have this simulated canvas texture layer, and then you have the image with a mask over it which defines the edges of the large brush strokes that we earlier painted on. So at least with this painterly feature, you can add in a different canvas texture that doesn't repeat, and you can edit the brushstroke marks around the image. And this is the painterly feature. Next is partial sketch. Turn part of a favorite photo into an artistic sketch. First, click the effect of your choice below and then drag your cursor across the area of your photo where you want to apply the effect. Then you can add areas, or subtract areas, and change the brush size and opacity. Optional. Click the Detail Brush button to precisely paint the effect on or off, and adjust the brush size and opacity here as well. Optional. Soften hard edges using the option below. 4. Optional. Check the Flip Effect box to move the effect to the other part of your photo. Then click Next, and click on Edit in Expert mode. And then you'll see one extra layer on top of the original is generated, which is a complete sketch layer. Then the faded out parts are on the mask layer, all of which you can modify as well. Next is Pattern Brush. Add creative sparkle with patterns. 1. Select a pattern below, and there are 15 patterns to choose from. Then you can either paint over the photo to apply the pattern to areas you select, or click the Fill button to apply the pattern to the entire photo. And amazingly, the pattern stays behind the subject. Although look with Kitty's face, the pattern fill went over his face. 2. Optional. Use the Pattern Eraser tool to fine-tune the pattern application area. Three. Optional. Add blur to make the subject stand out. But then look at Kitty's face, it disappears in the blurring effect. So we need 4. Optional. Click the Refine Blur button to precisely add or remove blur. And now we can make Kitty's face return to normal. And we touch up some other areas here that were also blurred in the figure. Then click Next, and Edit in Expert mode. And here we can see 3 layers fortunately, where we can edit the pattern on its own layer, and the blurred background on its own layer, and now we can edit each of these layers separately. And this is the Pattern Brush feature. Next is Photo Text. Turn a photo into cool visual text. First, start with a background image of your choice. Then, 1. Click on the Type tool button below, and then click on your photo and start typing some text. Use the tool options along the bottom to adjust the text style. Two, select how you would like the text to appear on your photo, fit the text, or fill the text. 3. Select the background style. Black, white, or clear. 5. Optional, select the intensity of the bevel, drop shadow, and stroke for your text. Click Advanced for more controls. Here is the Style Settings window that you would find in Expert mode. And you can adjust everything here that modifies the text, from lighting angle, to drop shadow, glow, bevel, and stroke. Click Next and edit in Expert mode. Here we have 5 layers, fortunately, for further editing capabilities, where you can go in and adjust all of the attributes of this text treatment to your liking. And this is the photo text feature. Next is Picture Stack. Give your photo the feeling of a creative collage. 1. Select number of pictures, I pick 4, there's also 8, or 12. 2. Change border width, small, medium, or large, which isn't much of a difference between these 3 choices. Then 3. Change background, gradient, which opens a new layer and gradient fill that you can adjust. Or you can select solid color, where you can pick the color. Then click Next, and edit in Expert mode, because Expert mode is not difficult. And here you see a lot of layers, which is great because then we can fully edit each photo element of this collage. By clicking off and then on again each layer, you can discover what each layer does. And this is the Picture Stack feature. The next feature is Pop Art. Transform your photo into a fun and colorful pop art masterpiece. 1. Choose a style, and there are only 2 to choose from. 2. Convert your image to bitmap, which posterizes it, or simplifies the colors, and I click on this a few times. Then 3. Add a neon glow effect. 4. Duplicate image with different pop colors. 5. Then click Next, and edit in Expert mode. And here, even though there are many layers, the adjustments to each image cannot be edited, unfortunately. So to make these images look different you would need to start over. And this is the Pop Art feature. Next is the Puzzle Effect. Convert your photo into a jigsaw puzzle. 1. Click on one of the buttons below to give your image a puzzle effect. Small, medium, or large size puzzles. 2. Enhance the effect by extracting a puzzle piece. 2a. Click the Select Puzzle Piece button, and then click on the center of any piece. 2b. Click on the Extract Piece button to extract your selected puzzle piece. 3. Use the Move tool to arrange the extracted piece. And I create 4 puzzle pieces this way. Click Next, and then edit this in expert mode. Here, fortunately, you can see 9 layers. Here you can move the puzzle pieces around, create more pieces, or perform other revisions. And this is the puzzle effect feature. Next is reflection. Add a reflection to create an interesting look. 1. Add a reflection to your image by clicking the Add Reflection button. 2. Use the eyedropper tool to choose a background color for your reflection. 3. Fill the background with your selected color. 4. Apply an effect to make your reflection more realistic, floor, glass, or water. This setting doesn't seem to do much. 5. Adjust reflection intensity. 6. Optional, add some vertical distortion to reflection by clicking the Add Distortion button. 7. Optional, crop the image to clean things up. 8. Finalize your reflection by adding a gradient. Click the Gradient tool, and drag a gradient line from the bottom of your reflection to the bottom of your original image. I click on the water icon in step 4 again, to get the ripple and motion blur settings, and only motion adds any significant changes, but motion blur does not make it look more like water. Click on Next, and then click on to edit in expert mode, and then you see there are 4 separate layers, but the effects of each one are not editable, so to make changes to this image, you would need to start over. And that is the reflection feature. Next is the Shape Overlay Effect. Add a Shape Overlay Effect to create an artistic look. 1. Click the Select a Shape button to choose your overlay shape. Scroll down the icons and you'll see a lot to choose from. Then pull the anchors of the shape bounding box, and you can resize the shape. You can even skew the shape. 3. Choose an effect for the area outside of the shape. And there are only 11 effects here. Then 4. Choose an effect for the area inside of the shape. And there are only 8 to choose from here. 5. Optional, crop your photo. Use the crop tool to manually crop the photo. Or you can click the Crop to Shape button. Click Next, and click to continue editing in expert mode. And here you see 6 layers, fortunately, and therefore, each element of this image can now be fully edited. Next is Speed Effect. Add some action with motion blur. 1. Click on the Quick Selection tool. Click and drag across the object you would like this effect to be on. Then use the Add or Subtract buttons to refine your selection. I need to remove this dark area here between the wheels. Now the child, his hat, and the car are all selected, outlined with a live selection, or the so-called marching ants. 2. Click on Add Speed Effect to apply the effect. Then use Increase or Decrease buttons to adjust the intensity of the effect. Use the angle control to change the angle of the effect. 3. Click the Add Focus Area button and then click and drag over the area where you would like to remove the effect. 4. Use the Refine Effect brush to very precisely paint on or off the effect. Click Next, and then Edit in Expert mode. And here you see 2 layers, where the top layer contains the blur with masked out or hidden areas, which, fortunately, you can further edit here. Next is Speed Pan. Add motion blur to the background to create the impression of speed. First, click on the Quick Selection tool button below. Then brush around the subject, getting as close to the edges as possible. Some of the selection will pick up the background, so then use the Add or Subtract buttons to refine the selection. And here is the final selection around the figure, the so-called marching ants. 2. Click on Add Motion Blur to apply a background blur. Use the angle control to change the angle of the motion, and the slider to adjust the amount of motion blur. Three. Use the Refine Effect brush to precisely adjust where the motion blur is applied. This grass part here needs to be blurred. And the arm here needs touching up. And now this looks pretty good. Click Next, then click to Edit in Expert mode. And here you see 3 layers, the original layer, the blurred layer, and the figure isolated with a mask, all of which you can then edit further. And this is the Speed Pan feature. And finally, the Zoom Burst effect. Add some motion and action to your photo with this classic effect. 1. Use the Crop tool to crop your image so that the primary subject is in the center. But we don't need to crop this image. 2. Click the Add Zoom Burst button to apply the effect to your image. Press multiple times to increase the effect. We just press on it once, and the result is enough of a head trip, we don't need to press it anymore. 3. Click the Add Focus Area button and then click and drag on your image to specify the area of focus. Repeat as needed to increase the area of focus. 4. Optional, add vignette to your image. Click the button again to intensify the effect. And here is the complete image, a simple feature with a nice result. Click Next, then click to edit in expert mode. And here you see 2 layers. The original on the bottom and the blur on top, with a mask layer blocking out the center part of the blur. And this is the zoom burst effect. This concludes my tutorial on all 19 features of the Fun Edit section in guided mode. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this information helpful. I sure learned a lot while making this video. Always keep expert mode in mind when working in guided mode. The possibilities of unleashing your creativity are only greater in expert mode, and you too can become an expert. Please hit like and subscribe, that helps a lot.